You saw this, right? Katie Porter was a congresswoman who got a bit of a name for herself and was also, to my understanding, the favored candidate to win the next California gubernatorial election. And this interview with hers, which did not air normally, was leaked recently, and it's so fascinating. It's too interesting to not watch. Is she a bad boss? Yes, this is the woman who had a staff turnover rate 4 times the average in Congress.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But
by the way, there's actually a version of saying what she just said that's extremely based in red pilled. Essentially saying, like, you know, if you want to be like the dark woke avatar of the future, if you want to be like the Democrat of tomorrow, you need to be like, well, I'm not convinced that the 40% of Californians who voted for Trump are interested in having a better state or a better country to live in. I can only promise them that I would make their lives better, even if they don't seem to agree. You know, you can like basically disparage them. Is she dark liberal? Well, what she's saying here is technically correct, kind of, you know, but you're a politician. You're not just like a data wonk. You have to roll with the punches a little bit.
Let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it.
It's so strange because what she's doing here is not incorrect in like a, well, if you're having a conversation with a friend about political strategy kind of way. Like, it's not incorrect in that way. In a politician talking to a journalist kind of way, it's insane. It's insane. It looks so bad. I can't believe... I think she might get away with it if she was a dude. Maybe a little bit more, but like it looks pretty bad either way, right?
Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care. I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about...
This is not that bad. If you don't know her, you could assume she had a bad day. Politicians don't get to flub interviews because they've had a bad day. Talking to journalists is their job. It's not just like an inconvenient bump in the road on the way to doing their job. It is their job. They have to be able to do it well, and if they can't do the job. The reason I was so fascinated by this is because I keep making the point over and over that Democrats don't actually believe in democracy. They just want to be technocratic bureaucrats. They think they're the most competent at stewarding the existing process, the status quo. They don't actually think of, like, this is one of the reasons why, oh wait, I have the tab open. Hold on, this is perfect. It's all coming together. It's like I planned these things. Caitlin Collins talked about this recently.
It's different because Trump is such an accessible president that, like, if he's just swearing in the ambassador to Greece, like, typically that wouldn't be a newsworthy event if President Biden or any typical president was probably doing it. But Trump's...
She looks really good here. I really like that belt. You guys see that? With like the I don't know what the name for this is. Not the buckle, but like the thing that you first slide the end of the belt through after you notch it through the buckle. Looks good.
moments, anytime the camera's around and the reporters are around, it can turn into a press conference. And so you never go into the Oval thinking, oh, this is going to be a quick, we call them sprays. It's where you go in, basically a photo op, and then you leave, because Trump will swear someone in and then he'll turn to you and say, you know, any questions? And he'll take maybe questions for 45 minutes. And so you have to, like, I always keep a running list of questions on my phone.
Okay.
Because you never know when you're going to run into him or when he's going to start taking questions.
This is, by the way, this is what every president should be able to do in the modern day and age. What she's basically saying is like, and we know this for a fact, with Biden, if you wanted to talk to Biden, good luck. You need to make your way through like an army of aides and staffers. You have to coordinate something or schedule a meeting. After he's done with the presser, he'll leave. He can only talk for a little bit. So after that, he has to leave. You know, you cannot talk to the president. But the president is the head of state. He is the #1 politician. He is the guy whose job it is to communicate with the nation. And she is pointing out, like, well, Trump is the like incredibly accessible. You know. Anyway, I think this relates to my point here. What about the Indian prime minister that has not answered a press question in the 10+ years he's been the prime minister? I don't know what that has to do with what I'm talking about, but that's because Modi is an authoritarian who is afraid of being scrutinized by the press. But it's also a different country. Claudia Sheinbaum spends 2 hours every morning from 7 to 9 discussing their agenda on all weekdays. We used to have this with like the fireside chats with FDR. We used to have, even before mass media in the way it exists now, we used to believe very strongly in the value of a president being relatable and communicable. Trump understands this, even if he's demented and an idiot. He still understands the importance of always being present. Main character energy. It was pretty easy in the Biden presidency to forget that he was even president, to forget that he was a force. What does he do? He would show up for 10-minute press conferences, not answer questions, and every once in a while he would tweet something like, this is bad. Somebody should do something about this. And he's the president, you know? Like, that's, you never get the feeling he's in charge. You do get the feeling Trump is in charge, you know? Well, he's being puppeted by his cabinet, but you know, you certainly feel his presence, is what I mean. Anyway, the reason I'm here, I'll finish this clip after we finish the interview here. But the reason I'm talking about this is because, like, that's what, in addition to Katie Porter just generally being belligerent, being horrible to her staff, this woman, multiple cases of her attacking her staff, like yelling at them, berating them, making them cry. Very, very belligerent, awful woman. But she also, I think, fundamentally, like, besides these behavioral issues, she doesn't, like, believe in the role of the politician here, you know? She thinks she's smarter than the questions the journalist is answering. But I've got a point to make here. If you're a politician and you're running, if you can't answer a journalist's questions, they're outsmarting you by default. Your job is handling the press. That's like the main thing that you do. If the questions that are being thrown your way, if you feel they're beneath you, you know, or you don't want to engage with them, you're losing to them. It is your job to deal with them. It's like being an MMA fighter and you're getting like hit over and over and over again by a series of attacks that you decree to be like, I don't know, beneath your interest or whatever. Like, oh, wow, a haymaker? Really? In a MMA match? What is this? What are we, boxing in the 60s? This is a joke. Come on, give me with something real. Meanwhile, you're getting the hell knocked out of you. Like, you're still losing.
Issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but
Jesus Christ.
I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on
It's a really weird thing to say to a journalist as a politician, by the way.
camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. and redistricting. It's a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just.
Anyway, Porter in particular has behavioral issues, but I think that this attitude is common to a lot of Democrats. Like, they do think that talking to journalists is beneath them, you know? They are correctly aware of the fact that journalists are low effort, bottom denominator, or sorry, like bottom of the barrel, lowest common denominator, slop trough fillers who exist to get gotchas for clips so that their, you know, dying mass media empires can stay afloat. But that does not mean that you can, you know, ignore them. Jesus, like contempt for new media as well. The Democrats don't even... do you think Schumer knows what a live streamer is? Isn't that true, though? It doesn't matter if it's true. It's still there. You can't ignore it. Here, finish the Collins.
And so you can't just have one or two. Like, you have to have like 10 ready to go.
Because you said the word typical president, right? Not your typical president. Typical president was swearing in someone from Greece, like we would know. Is that because of predictability?
So Trump is my first president that I ever covered, and I covered Biden as well, and so I can compare it to him. But even with President Obama, you know, there are these moments in the Oval Office that everyone has come to know because you see them on TV so often.
Right.
But when you speak to reporters who covered President Obama, he almost never responded to shouted questions. It wasn't his thing. He didn't, you know, he would have his moments with world leaders.
And as we know, Obama is incredibly fucking arrogant. Obama has a massive ego. And he has, because he's very smart and because he's very charismatic, he's very good at hiding it by engaging in controlled acts of, oh, I'm just like you engagement, which he does, you know, he does it in his album reviews. He does it in his, well, this is my favorite book of the year. You know, he does it in a wide variety of ways, and he's extremely good at it. But underneath that is the seething contempt of a person who knows damn well that he's smarter than you and does not think that you are worth his time. And it's evident in a lot of how he behaves once you look for it. You know, he does not think of himself as like the people that he's talking to, which, you know what? Maybe he's not. He's a, you know, former president and by and large a very well accomplished person. But motherfucker, that's your job. But he'll have a beer with you. I would easily rather have a beer with Bush than Obama. And I know that's like a hackneyed thing to say, but I think that underneath all the, you know, evil, well, they're both evil people, you know, underneath all of that, I think that Bush would just enjoy talking and having a beer. I think that Obama would be sizing you up and trying to calculate like the way to get out of the interaction faster and how to best like play this off. I don't think he could have a sincere moment there. Insane thing to say. I disagree. No, I disagree. I'm not talking about their records as presidents or anything like that, as if Obama has much to brag about. I'm just talking about their personal disposition, which reflects in how they treat the press and how much they engage with them, you know? And the Democrats have this issue, you know? They understand, and they're correct in this, by the way, that Republicans and Republican presidential candidates and the political, you know, the electorate broadly, everyone on that side of the aisle are worse than them when it comes to running the government. It's an objective fact. By basically every empirical metric, Republicans are worse at running the government than Democrats. And I think the Democrats let that get to their head, and they think the only thing that matters is being better at that part of the job. And because they think that's what matters, not, you know, being popular, it shows. So Obama is a closeted control freak. Buddy, that is not closeted at all. That's a well-known fact. There are plenty of people who have talked about having worked with him, people who have written books. That is very well known. He tightly controlled his image. He had a very strong sense of style and presentation. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think that it was in many ways antisocial. Yeah, Obama is like an alien who trained to assimilate with humans and like got really good at it. But there's just something. You can see where Kamala comes in from Obama. In the like distanced, I think I'm better than you sense, possibly. I think it's kind of hard to tell because we would have needed to see her as president. Biden had it to an extent, but I don't think he had it anywhere near as bad as Obama. Like Biden was a lot more interpersonal. I think having a beer with Biden, assuming he could even drink at this point, you know, if he could talk at all. Having a beer with Biden 10 years ago, there you go. He would just like be normal. He would like talk to you normally. He's one of the most down to earth people. He was one of the most down to earth people in the Senate. Kind of just sounds like you're racist. Fine, I'll balance it out, okay? Pete Buttigieg has the most, like, Obama contempt for the common person. I think I'm better than you, and therefore I should only have to justify the superiority of my positions via argument and not via, like, you know, being personable type guy out there. He's like the one. Of course he picks the one gay guy, SMH. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe if the Democrats weren't such a DEI fest, I wouldn't keep stumbling over these landmines. What about Newsom? Newsom's different. That guy's a fucking sociopath. He's different. That's a different kind of behavior. Newsom actually engages with the press reasonably often. Does he? Well, he's better about it than Kamala Harris, and, you know. Yeah, he does do a lot of new media appearances. That's true. I mean, even if I dislike a lot of them. Saran is better than them all. Yes, of course Saran is better than them all. Obviously. I feel like people aren't really taking the point that I'm trying to make here. The point that I'm trying to make here is, like, this might have been an especially embarrassing crash out. I really don't think, like, the attitude underlying it is not that uncommon with the Democrats, you know? When Republicans crash out because journalists are questioning them, it's because underneath what the Republican is saying, their real position is this: I hate you, and I hate America. I'm only here to make money. That's all I care about. Why are you bothering me? You know this. Implicit to the Republican crash out is this message to all of them. You know I'm just here for the grift. Why are you questioning me about it? You know? Why are you, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? For Republicans, to them, it feels like they're on a stage. They're playing theater, you know? And somebody has stepped up from the audience to question them in character, you know? Somebody stepped up onto the stage to ask Hamlet, like, over and over again, hey, what are you going to do? What, you seriously? Dude, fucking Yorick Skull? What do you do? Why are you talking to him? He's dead. Like, it's bewildering to them, you know? But with the Democrats, I think the internal feeling is like, you know I'm better at this. You know they can't do anything. Let me have this. Go away. What was Bill Clinton like with the press? Better. I think he was better than Obama was in terms of his ability to kind of, like, play it off easy. You know what I mean? But not by much. I mean, he was just still like a New York elite, you know? I mean, he was still like a Epstein Island, you know, coastal freak. Why do you think it comes across differently when Democrats do it versus Trump? They don't do the same thing. Trump engages all the time. Trump is incredibly easy to talk to. We've all seen a million videos of it. Like, Trump will, like, you walk up to Trump, just anyone, you just talk to him and he'll just start talking. He'll just answer questions. He talks before he boards the plane. He talks after he leaves the plane. He talks after every event where he's in public. He's all the time. He's talking to everyone. He loves yapping. He just says shit. Nobody's put a leash on him. You know, he's just free to say whatever. He talks on the plane. While on Air Force One, he will call into news shows.
And then you would leave the Oval. Trump kind of upended that when he...
Please don't frame his press style as a positive thing. It's demonic. Are you being dense deliberately? I'm not saying that Trump being a belligerent liar is a good thing. I'm saying that Trump being really easy to access by the press is a good thing. You all want that. Does anyone not want that? You know, Mamdani is exactly the same, right? We all want that, right? That's just good governance. That's just a sign of an effective politician, that you're really good at handling the press. It's been that way for hundreds of years. Like, that's not a new thing. You go back to the 19th century and you'll have, like, presidents who are better or worse at dealing with newspaper reporters, and the ones who are worse at dealing with it don't do a good job conveying their intention or their policies or their agenda, and the ones who are better about it tend to have favorable relationships that they can take advantage of to better promote their agenda, you know?
He came into the White House, and sometimes presidents are press averse. Trump embraced the media. I mean, he did it for decades as, like, this New York mogul.
Sure.
And so he just had a different approach to the press, and always has, you know, long before taking office. Most politicians are not very press savvy. It kind of depends on who it is. I think Trump always understood the value of a camera and a microphone.
Just crazy. Anyway, yeah. Every Democrat is Katie Porter. That's my point. I might be mistaken, but I think Winston Churchill was supposedly good at handling the media. It's one of the reasons why Winston Churchill still has such a good reputation today. Not just, you know, World War II, which is an obvious one, but also because he was a bit of a socialite, you know? He was like kind of a bit of a party animal drunkard who would stumble into social engagements, make friends, make enemies, whatever. He was available to talk to. Was RFK good at handling the media? What RFK? He wasn't a president. Do you mean JFK? Honestly, I don't really know. Also in the UK, our education hides how evil Churchill was. But that's not what we're talking about. What about Abraham Lincoln? I wish I had the ability to magically, like, determine when the point switches in chat, where people are asking questions that are constructive and conducive to the subject at hand, and when people are just talking to fill up time. And once that point hits, I wish it just instantly, permanently bans you. Like, there's a point between, like, okay, we're fleshing out the point, and then it's just people asking questions to get a response. You need a Jarvis? I do need a Jarvis! I do!